Okay, it's time for the end of this book where we go to Prince William Sound, and I think there's some stories about my grandma. All right, so went to Prince William Sound to work. I was a rock spotter, and so here I am spotting a rock. Obviously, much later than really should have been. Just some boat pictures. There's Pete and the boat that we were working on. Homer Harbor from the air. That's me on the beach at the Prince William Sound. This is just an interesting boat. So it might be hard to tell. That's a semi-cab on the top of that. And I said, just a crazy Alaskan making do with what he has. Who knows why he decided to modify his boat this way, but it seemed to be working for him. On March 24th, 1989, shortly after midnight, the oil tanker Exxon Valdez struck Bligh Reef in Prince William Sound, spilling more than 11 million gallons of crude oil. More than 1,300 miles of shoreline were contaminated. Unfortunately, since the area is so remote, an already difficult task of trying to clean that all up was made much more difficult. The only way to access it was by boat or helicopter. In the summer of 1989, Pete and I got a job working in the Sound. A man we'd often worked with flew us by float plane to Valdez to run a landing craft called the Lyria. We moved oil boom supplies to protect sea otters and the other wildlife in the small island coves. The chemicals they used to clean the beaches were so toxic that I wasn't allowed anywhere near it because it could have had long-term effects on my ability to have babies. I spent a great deal of time that summer crying because the damage done by all that crude oil was overwhelming. Try to imagine the most beautiful, amazing, untouched wilderness that you can. Lots of wildlife, sea otters, dolphins, eagles, hawks, ducks, and amazing views. Now, imagine it covered in thick black tar. It was 100 times worse than that. I do have a lot of really beautiful photos from that time, but I did cry a lot. All right, so this story is written by Bear Bear, called Great Grandma. The photos aren't all Great Grandma, though. They're kind of miscellaneous. There's me on the beach. This is from the 70s, so that's why the photo quality is so low in a lot of them. Who's that? Oh, that's Uncle Tim chopping wood. And then me and Debbie and Jenny. That's my grandma. I think that's mentioned in the story. I'm on a pony. That's East End Road before it was paved. I think that might be at the Anchorage Airport. Mom taking a picture of the hot air balloon. Christmas. Okay. My mom, your great-grandmother, was an amazing person. She was smart and pretty. She was brave but quiet. I never heard her yell, and she never swore. She didn't show us she loved us by hugging or kissing us, but we knew she loved us very much. She was really good at taking care of us when we were sick, and she was a fantastic cook. She had the same eyes and skin that I do, but her hair was so black that it always reminded me of raven's wings. She really looked like an Indian princess. Her name was different than what, as I always told. I was supposedly named after her, but friends and family in Missouri called her Ronnie. She thought her name was Nadine, but Grandma's name was not Nadine. I don't know very much about her childhood. She never talked about it. I know when she was about 16, she drove a souped-up Packard that her uncles gave her to run shine across state lines for them. She worked for one uncle restoring old wooden train cars and horse-drawn cable cars. Oh, so that was Grandma at her job. She met my dad when she worked as a carny, as in a carnival running the Ferris wheel. My parents had their own radio station in Coos Bay, Oregon when I was little. Before that, they ran the Manhattan Beach Herald and the Sun Herald in California. Wow, I forgot all of this. Our family still owns and operates the Manhattan Herald. Somehow, she was in the famous Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. I think she was secretly married in 1945 to a sailor going to war. So I've only read this much of a paragraph. That's all that crazy shit my grandma's done. Okay. She and my dad were involved with the early years of the nuclear experiments. She rode barrels in rodeos and personally knew Roy Rogers and his band. She also somehow knew Clark Gable, and rumor is he held me in his lap when I was little. Her best friend was a Navajo Indian. Mom, Trina's my mom's sister, and I lived with her friend for a while on the reservation in Nevada after she and my dad split up.
My first job was working for her. She ran rolling pin donuts in Northern California. I worked at the counter, then she taught me how to fry donuts. Later, we bought a bakery and coffee shop in Mountain View, California. She and I ran it, and our husbands worked there too. It was called Nadine's Bakery. We made all kinds of baked goods, including the most amazing wedding cakes. She taught herself how to decorate the cakes and was the first one to use an old projector to airbrush portraits and pictures on birthday cakes. We had a special truck made that had gimbaled shelves hanging inside so that the cakes would never tip over. Grandma designed that too. One of our famous customers was the inventor of Apple computers. We also knew the man who invented the pet rock. Mom was a talented artist. She drew and painted. She could sew so well that she was the head seamstress for a store called Montgomery Ward. Trina and I were in the catalog a couple of times modeling coats and dresses. I always said she could knit a car if she set her mind to it. She was so good at it. She had many jobs. Some she created where she saw a need. Literally out of nothing except hard work and imagination. She had a strange and difficult life. She made a lot of mistakes, but she was the strongest person I've ever known. I sound a lot like my grandma. All right, unfortunately, a lot of these photos are not very good quality. There's the trailer, the Airstream trailer, before it was pulled over next to the house. And there's a couple of our dogs. There's the outhouse right there. Decorating a tree. Well, that's the moose fence around the garden. It's 5 feet high, and only a little bit's coming up above the snow. So, playing baseball on the field. And Tom on Santa's lap. I do not know what's going on in that picture. Oh, I'm just pulling the sled with the boys in it, and there's just a lot of stuff in the picture, so it's confusing. All right, so there it is. There's the end of that book. Whew, crazy stories. See you later.